Layer of the Elephant. The above-mentioned episode happened in his youth. Now, we come to the most important event of his life, which took place just 8 years before his death. By then, he was the patriarch of the tribe. The Ethiopian governor of Yemen, Abraha al-Ashram, invited the reverence in which the Kaaba was held by the Arabs. Being a staunch Christian, he built a big cathedral in Sana'a, the capital of Yemen, and ordered the Arabs to go there for pilgrimage instead. The order was ignored. Not only that, someone entered the cathedral and made it unclean. The wrath of Abraham knew no bounds. In his fury, he decided to avenge it by demolishing and discrediting the Kaaba itself. He advanced with a large army towards Mecca. There were many elephants in his army. He himself rode a hook elephant. It was an animal which the Arabs had not seen before. Thus the year came to be known as Amul Fil, the year of the elephant, and it started an era for reckoning the years in Arabia. This remained in use until the days of Umar bin al-Khattab when, on the advice of Hazrat Ali bin Abi Thalib, he replaced it with the era of Hijrah. When news of the events of Abraha's army came, the Arabian tribes of Quraysh, Kinanah, Khuza'ah, and Hudayl joined together to defend the Kaaba. Abraha sent a small contingent towards Mecca to capture the camels and young people. The contingent captured many animals, including 200 of Abdul Muttalib's. Meanwhile, a man from the tribe of Himyar was sent by Abraha to Quraysh to advise them that Abraha had not come to fight them. His only aim was to demolish the Kaaba, but if the Quraysh resisted, they would be crushed. Then followed a frightening description of his hook army, which admittedly was much larger and better equipped than all the tribes put together. Abdul Muttalib replied to his ultimatum in these words: "By Allah, we don't want to fight him. So far as this house, the Kaaba, is concerned, it is the house of Allah. If Allah wants to save his house, he will save it, and if he leaves it unprotected, no one can save it." Then Abdul Muttalib with Amr bin Lu'abah and some other prominent leaders went to see Abraha. Abraha was informed beforehand of the prestige and position of Abdul Muttalib. Also, the personality of Abdul Muttalib was very impressive and awe-inspiring. When he entered Abraha's tent, the latter rose from his throne, warmly welcomed him, and seated him beside him on the carpet. During the conversation, Abdul Muttalib requested him to release his camels. Abraha was astonished. He said, "When my eyes fell upon you, I was so impressed by you that had you requested me to withdraw my army and go back to Yemen, I would have granted that request. But now, I have no respect for you. Why? Here I have come to demolish the house which is the religious center of yours and of your forefathers and the foundation of your prestige and respect in Arabia. And you say nothing to save it. Instead, you ask me to return your few camels back to you." Abdul Muttalib said, "I am the owner of the camels, therefore I tried to save them, and this house has its own owner, who will surely protect it." Abraha was stunned by this reply. He ordered the camels to be released, and the deputation of Quraysh returned. On the second day, Abraha issued orders to his army to enter Mecca. Abdul Muttalib told the Meccans to leave the city and to seek refuge in the surrounding hills. But he, together with some leading members of Quraysh, remained within the precincts of the Kaaba. Abraha sent someone to warn them to vacate the building. When the messenger came, he asked the people who their leader was. All fingers pointed towards Abdul Muttalib. He was again invited to go to Abraha where he had a talk with him. When he came out, he was heard saying, "The owner of this house is its defender, and I'm sure he will save it from the attack of the adversaries and will not dishonor the servants of his house." Abdul Muttalib then took hold of the door of the Kaaba and, crying to Allah, prayed in the following words of poetry: "O Allah, surely a man defends his own home, therefore thou shalt protect thy own house. Their cross and their wrath can never overcome thy wrath. O Allah, help thy own people against the fellows of the cross and its worshippers." Then he too went to the summit of the hill, Abu Qubais. Abraha advanced with his army. Seeing the walls of the Kaaba, he ordered its demolition. No sooner had the army reached near the Kaaba than an army of Allah appeared from the western side. A dark cloud of small birds, known in Arabic as ababil, overshadowed the entire army of Abraha. Each bird had 3 pebbles, 2 in its claws and 1 in its beak. A rain of the pebbles poured down from the birds, and in a few minutes the whole army was destroyed. Abraha himself was seriously wounded. He fled towards Yemen but died on the way. It is to his important event that Allah refers in chapter 105. Have you not seen how your Lord dealt with the companions of the elephant? Did he not make their treacherous plan go astray? And he sent against them birds in flocks, striking them with stones of baked clay. So he rendered them like straw eaten up. Quran 105. Some historians have tried to minimize the impact of the divine intervention by suggesting that the army perished because of an epidemic of smallpox. But such an explanation creates more puzzles than it solves. How was it that the whole army was seized by the epidemic just when it was advancing on the Kaaba? How was it that not a single soldier survived the epidemic? Why was it that no Meccan caught the contagious epidemic? Moreover, if there was no epidemic in Mecca before or after the sudden burst of the plague, where did the epidemic come from? This epoch-making episode happened in 570 AD. It was in the same year that the Holy Prophet of Islam was born to Abdullah and Aminah.